Okay, so game 2, I was playing, he was like 1850, I think that's his classical rating. I don't know, he's probably higher rated than me in Quick, honestly, because he's, most of the time, I think he beats me at Quick and Blitz. I feel like, maybe that's in my head, but that's all I have to say. Alright, so e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, I'm gonna try to attempt a Kalashnikov, even though I know no theory, and I'm bad. d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, e5, knight b5, d6. Okay, here's like the main branching point. There's either c4 or knight c3. My opponent goes knight c3, meaning that this knight can no longer go to c3, so this is the correct moment to play a6, because the knight has to go back to a3. This is all I know. I'm not really sure, like, I know there's a lot of good ways to play, but I'm on my own at this point. I'm just playing based on vibes and ideas I've discovered while reading different books, but I think what I meant to do is play rook b8 here is maybe the move my book recommends. I went bishop e6 because I was like, it can't be a bad move, like it just can't be. And after the move knight c4, I go rook b8. And the point is, like, in a lot of cases, the b6 square is really weak, or like, you have to worry about forks on c7, which I just like constantly hang and blitz. I'm sure there's actual like chess reasons behind this move that I just do not understand yet, but this was my reason for playing this. It also helps, like, in the future, b5, b4 could happen. So, yeah, if bishop e3, then the square is no longer available for the knight, so I would go b5 here. And after knight d2, I think I can get away with f5, because there's no knight here, and I would have been pretty happy with this. I really love getting a quick f5 in. It's the sort of position that I actually feel like I understand as, like, a past King's Indian player. The only reason I play the Kalashnikov, by the way, is to try to get King's Indian positions. But he didn't do that. He went knight e3, to which I was like, okay, I could metagame here. I mean, b5 doesn't make very much sense now. It's not coming with a tempo or anything like that. I thought about playing like bishop e7 and like trying to come up with a point. But then I was like, oh, well, usually after knight f6, bishop g5 is an annoying pin, but he can't do that. So I'll just play knight f6 now. Makes sense? Opponent goes g3, and then we automatic send h5. This is one of the other only ideas I know in the Kalashnikov, and it works so freaking well. You either like go up here and create a hook, or sometimes you even push it all the way to h3 and just destroy them. So my opponent goes h3, and the point is if I go h4, we're just going to lock it up, and then like black's play is kind of dead on the king's side. So I definitely don't want this. Instead, I just continue with development. I go g6, and I'm gonna go bishop g7 and castle, and maybe play it like a King's Indian. Hopefully. Bishop g2, bishop g7, castles, castles, and he goes knight c to d5. I don't really see any point in taking this knight. I go b5 to gain some space right away. My opponent goes... Oh, I remember it. Yeah, like, I want to put a knight on d4 always, but if I put my knight on d4 in this position, he just plays c3. And it's like, what was the point? So I go b5, intending, like, if he goes c3 now, I'll play b4, which is what happened in the game. So bishop h6 sometimes is a good idea. I didn't really see any purpose to it in this specific position. I'm more focused on, a lot of the times, the bishop being on g7 helps with knight d4, and you often will actually sometimes sacrifice this pawn to open the bishop, or just leave the pawn there and put a knight on e5 or c5, and it complements the bishop very nicely. So I go b4, and I'm trying to just like make my rook make sense. Like if I take, then like it's perfectly developed on an open file. Very happy. My opponent played, how much time did he spend on this? I think we were like pretty close on time the whole time, but we're both down to like 8 or 9 minutes, I believe. And my opponent kind of quickly plays c4, which I was very surprised to see. It makes sense at first because like this knight looks really pretty and we just want to keep it there forever. But I honestly think that the d4 square is a much more important square than the d5 square. zefcatt's OTB analysis is fire. Yeah, I'm trying to like, because I had so much caffeine today because of the migraines, it's gonna wear off at some point. So we're trying to like get it in there before I forget. I don't want to just forget all my games. Like I actually remember what I was thinking, so I want to get this over with right away. And the games weren't complicated enough that I have to like ask someone who's better than me, what was going on here? Like I had like 96% accuracy in one, like 0, only 5 inaccuracies in another. Thanks for the 5 gift subs, Latinum. All right, everybody stop giving me money so I can talk about the chess game. So I think d4 is a far weaker square, far more important square than the d5 square. Like, yeah, the knight looks great here, but it's not doing all that much. And in a lot of cases, like if a pawn ends up here, it's like, who cares? I thought a lot about playing knight d4 right now. Instead, I opted to just play knight d7. I can play this like sort of whenever. That's the thing. Like, it's permanently weak. I don't have to rush putting a knight there. Instead, I chose to now bring this knight over to c5. This pawn is a nice like dark square controller and space grabber that I can always support with a5 when the knight disappears. And the knight from this square supports lots of different things like the b3 square, d3 square, e4, sometimes a5, a4. It can come to e6 in some cases, and then both knights are attacking d4. It's like, wow, this is actually good. It's crazy that I'm starting to understand these structures. I guess that's what happens if you just don't quit. But my opponent goes b3, which, yeah, you gotta get the pieces out. I now choose to play knight d4, and after bishop b2, I just go knight c5. I am not afraid of having my pawns doubled whatsoever. In fact, in this specific position, white is just lost already because concretely the knight has 0 squares other than c2, which falls right into like maybe d3, maybe I take this knight first. Because generally in Sicilians, like when there's a knight on d5, if your opponent has to recapture with a pawn or a queen, it's a negative thing. They want a minor piece there. So it makes sense to throw this in first, then play c3. I might grab the exchange, I might not. My bishop is really good, and this passed pawn is really good. So that would be like suicidal, but even if not, I mean, sometimes having the open bishop is even worth giving up the pawn in some cases. So he cannot do that. My opponent goes knight c2 because he wants the knight out. He's done. He wants it out. And I had to think a little bit of a think here. I didn't really write it down, but I could sacrifice the pawn, but I didn't see much of a point. I thought after knight takes c2, queen takes c2, I just have a good position. I can always take here and just play this like a closed structure. If he takes this way, then of course a5 and then put stuff on the c file. If he takes with the other pawn, then I'm happy with like the not blocked pawn, sometimes f5 even. I threw queen d7 in first, tickling the pawn on h3, and after king h2, I go f5, and if he takes on f5, I get to play bishop takes f5 now, and I'm trying to just like crack him open, put stuff on, you know, all these weak squares, etc., etc. Sometimes there's tactics. Opponent doesn't take, opponent plays f3, which is probably bad. He probably should take, because now I take on d5 and like permanently close the structure. So I give him the bishop pair, but then I close everything forever, and I keep him, like, this bishop is a pawn. The bishop has 0 squares except for this. Like, that's the worst bishop ever. And this knight is, he's a good horsey. Also, getting rid of the knight means that after, if he plays g takes, I can play rook takes f5, which I wouldn't be able to do if the knight was still on d5. So opponent goes g4, trying to just, like, pass this up, but the problem with g4 is now, why are we playing this opening? Now it's a King's Indian. A really good King's Indian, actually. So we're just going to take this boy right here, which looks like our bad bishop, and just mosey on over to the king side. Crack open the h-file, move the king over, and just, like, mate him. I have queen a7 in a lot of cases. It's just... I could even also just play it positionally as well on the queen side. I go bishop f6, rook f to c1. I could already tell he was like setting up this tactic that if I go like bishop h4, he wants to play bishop takes e5. Because like why else, like why wouldn't he use this rook? It was all very weird. It felt like he was baiting me. Because if I take, then the knight hangs. So I was like, oh, okay. I almost played bishop h4 and then I saw this. So we take a little time to just defend the knight, over defend the knight first before we start going in. Make sure all our guys are safe. Opponent goes queen d2, tickling the pawn. a5 is automatic. Opponent goes rook c4, and I'm like, huh, I wonder what he has in mind here. What does my opponent have in mind? He really thinks I don't see this, which I thought was funny. So I go bishop h4, because currently this doesn't work, because this is just defended. My opponent plays rook c1. I wonder what he has in mind. Bishop g3 check, king g2. I go h takes g4, h takes g4. And then I think for a minute, and I'm like, I could go here, but I know he's gonna play this. So I'm like, I go king f7, and then I go like that, you know? I'm like baiting him. Because I know he doesn't see the end of the tactic. He sees the tactic, but not the end. So chat, tell me what is wrong with bishop takes e5? Why does this move not work? Why am I like baiting him to take? I mean, king f7 also is just generally useful. Like, I want to do this stuff anyways. But I'm trying to be subtle here. Yeah, queen a7, but more specifically that he cannot interpose with the queen, and I'll have rook c8. So I'll show that. So my opponent, of course, plays bishop takes e5 because he assumed I didn't see this. You know, and I acted sad, and I still kept playing through it because I was excited. But like, I take, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, and then I just go queen a7, pinning the rook to the king. And the only way to defend the rook, like if he were able to play this move or this move, then this would not be pinned. So after this, he could just take. But because his only move to defend the rook does not break the pin, I simply build up on the pin it and win it. And he just loses on the dark squares, as we predicted. And he resigned here. So this game was fun. And I had a 92% accuracy. I had 5 inaccuracies. Let's see what they were. Knight c5 was inaccurate. Instead, I should play h4. And if g4... Okay, it just wants me to play even slower. What's the point of throwing h4, and I wonder? I'm gonna take on d5 next, it says. I don't know. I would have to ask someone who is better than me to understand that. Why that's inaccurate. Maybe a human would disagree. Queen d7 was inaccurate. I should just play this. f4 was inaccurate. No, it's not. It only loses like 0.2. That's stupid. It's not inaccurate. Bishop f6 is inaccurate. It's still a good move. The bigger like the engine favors me, like the less I care about inaccuracies. It's just like good move or good move. Good move, slightly better move. Believe it or not, that wasn't even the best game that I played.